Have you ever noticed something strange? The moment you stop obsessing over her, she starts paying attention. The moment you stop checking your phone every 5 minutes, she texts. The moment you stop trying to impress her, she becomes curious. At first it feels confusing, almost unfair, because when you were giving her all of your attention, she seemed distant. But when you started focusing on yourself, something changed. Why? Was it a coincidence? A game? Or is there something much deeper happening beneath the surface? The truth is, when a man becomes completely focused on winning someone's attention, he often loses sight of his own life. But when he redirects that energy toward his purpose, growth, and self-respect, he begins to radiate a different kind of confidence, and people notice, including her. Hello everyone, welcome to the Magnetic Masculinity channel. In today's video, we'll explore why focusing on yourself is one of the most attractive things a man can do, and why the moment you stop chasing attention may be the moment you finally start receiving it. Stay until the end, because the final lesson could completely change the way you think about attraction, confidence, and masculine success. Now, let's get started. Part 1. You stop giving off the energy of neediness. One of the biggest changes that happens when a man starts focusing on himself is invisible. Yet people notice it immediately. His energy changes. Before, he may have been constantly seeking attention, waiting for messages, checking his phone, overthinking every interaction, wondering what she thought of him, wondering if she still liked him, wondering what he could do to keep her interested. Without realizing it, he was communicating something powerful: neediness. And neediness has a way of affecting everything. It changes how you speak, how you act, how you make decisions, even how people feel when they're around you. The problem is that neediness often comes from a good place: the desire to connect, the desire to be loved, the desire to matter. But when that desire becomes excessive, it creates pressure. Pressure on the relationship, pressure on the other person, and pressure on yourself. The moment a man begins focusing on his own growth, something changes. His attention is no longer consumed by one person. He starts investing in his goals, his health, his career, his purpose, his friendships, and because of that, he naturally becomes less needy. Not because he's pretending not to care, but because his entire emotional world is no longer dependent on one source. This creates a different presence, a calmer presence, a stronger presence, a more confident presence. And confidence is attractive because it communicates abundance. It says, my life is full. My happiness is not hanging by a thread. I enjoy your presence, but I don't require it to feel complete. That is a powerful message, and people can feel it, even when it is never spoken aloud. The irony is that many men try to become attractive by focusing harder on someone else. But attraction often grows when a man redirects that focus toward becoming a better version of himself. Because when you stop needing someone's attention to feel valuable, your presence changes. And when your presence changes, people notice, including her. Part 2. Purpose is more attractive than pursuit. One of the greatest mistakes many men make is believing that attraction grows when they devote more and more attention to a woman. So they pursue, they text more, they think about her more, they rearrange their lives around her. They make her the center of their focus. And while this may seem romantic at first, it often creates an unintended consequence. They begin neglecting the very things that made them attractive in the first place: their goals, their ambition, their growth, their purpose. This is where many men become trapped. The pursuit becomes so intense that they slowly stop pursuing their own lives. And without realizing it, they lose something important: momentum. Purpose gives a man direction. It gives him a reason to wake up in the morning, a challenge to overcome, a future to build. And there is something deeply attractive about a man who is moving toward a meaningful destination. Not because he is busy, but because he is driven. People are naturally drawn to those who have a sense of direction. A man with purpose carries himself differently. He values his time. He makes decisions with confidence. He is less likely to become consumed by every emotional fluctuation because his life contains something bigger than the pursuit of attention. This is why purpose is often more attractive than pursuit. When a man is constantly chasing, his focus is outward. He is asking, how do I get her attention? How do I keep her interested? How do I make her choose me? But when a man is focused on his purpose, the questions change. How do I grow? How do I improve? How do I build a meaningful life? That shift is powerful because the moment a man becomes committed to his own development, he stops living in reaction to other people. He begins creating his own path, and that independence creates confidence. The irony is that many men believe they will become more attractive by making a woman their priority. But attraction often grows when a man remains committed to a purpose that is larger than any one relationship. Because purpose communicates strength. Purpose communicates discipline. Purpose communicates self-respect. And those qualities are difficult to ignore. In the end, people may admire your attention, but they are often inspired by your direction. And direction is what separates a man who is chasing life from a man who is leading it. That is why purpose will always be more attractive than pursuit. Before we continue, I'd like to hear your opinion. What are you focusing on most right now? Your purpose or your relationships? Comment purpose or relationships below. And if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe to Magnetic Masculinity for more insights on confidence, self-respect, purpose, and masculine growth. Now let's continue because the next lesson reveals why the moment you start growing is often the moment people begin seeing you differently. Part 3. Why growth creates natural attraction. One of the most fascinating things about personal growth is that it changes how people see you, even when you're not trying to impress anyone. Most men assume attraction comes from what they say, what they wear, how much attention they give, or how hard they try. But often attraction grows from something much deeper. Progress. There is something powerful about a man who is actively improving his life. A man who is learning new skills, building better habits, taking care of his health, advancing his career, expanding his knowledge, not because someone is watching, but because he has decided to become better than he was yesterday. People can feel that energy. They can see it in the way he carries himself, the way he speaks, the way he approaches challenges. Growth creates confidence, not the loud, attention-seeking kind of confidence, but the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are moving forward. And forward momentum is attractive. Why? Because growth signals potential. It signals ambition. It signals discipline. And those qualities naturally inspire curiosity and respect. Think about what happens when a man becomes stuck. Every day looks the same. Every conversation sounds the same. Every goal remains unfinished. Over time, his energy begins to stagnate. But the man who is constantly evolving becomes difficult to ignore. There is always another layer to discover, another challenge he is pursuing, another lesson he is learning. And that makes him more interesting. Not because he is trying to be interesting, but because he is genuinely growing. The irony is that many men focus on getting someone else's attention, yet the most powerful thing they could do is focus on becoming a better version of themselves. Because when you grow, your standards change, your confidence changes, your habits change, and eventually your entire presence changes. That is when people begin noticing something different about you. Not because you demanded attention, not because you chased validation, but because growth naturally creates attraction. The truth is, people are drawn to movement, to progress, to purpose. And when a man is committed to becoming more than he was yesterday, he radiates all three. That is why focusing on yourself is so powerful. Not because it guarantees someone's attention, but because it transforms you into someone worthy of your own respect. And once that happens, the respect of others often follows naturally. Part 4. Why confidence grows when validation fades. One of the most liberating moments in a man's life comes when he realizes that confidence and validation are not the same thing. Most people spend years chasing validation. Validation from women, validation from friends, validation from social media, validation from strangers who barely know them. They believe that if enough people approve of them, they will finally feel confident. But the problem is that validation is temporary. It comes and goes. One compliment can lift your mood. One rejection can destroy it. One moment of attention can make you feel valuable. One moment of silence can make you question yourself. This is why confidence built on validation is always fragile, because it depends on things you cannot control. The man who focuses on himself begins to understand this. He starts measuring his life differently. Instead of asking, "Do people approve of me?" he asks, "Am I becoming the man I want to be?" That question changes everything, because now his confidence is tied to effort rather than outcomes, to growth rather than praise, to discipline rather than attention. And that kind of confidence is far more stable. Think about it. A man who goes to the gym consistently gains confidence, not because everyone notices, but because he knows he is keeping promises to himself. A man who works toward meaningful goals gains confidence, not because everyone applauds him, but because he knows he is moving forward. This is the foundation of real self-esteem. It is earned internally before it is recognized externally. The irony is that the more a man depends on validation, the less confident he often becomes, because he is constantly waiting for other people to tell him who he is. But when a man focuses on growth, he no longer needs that permission. He already knows. And people notice that certainty. Not because he talks about it, but because it shows up in everything he does. His posture changes. His decisions become stronger. His boundaries become clearer. His energy becomes calmer. And perhaps most importantly, he becomes less afraid of rejection. Because rejection no longer threatens his identity. His value was never built on another person's opinion in the first place. This is why confidence grows when validation fades. Because for the first time, a man stops asking the world to tell him his worth and starts proving it to himself. And there is something incredibly attractive about a man who no longer needs permission to believe in his own value, because that belief cannot be taken away by praise, and it cannot be destroyed by rejection. It belongs to him. And that makes all the difference. Part 5. When you become the prize. After everything we've discussed, we arrive at the biggest shift a man can make, a shift that changes not only his relationships, but his entire life. He stops asking, "How do I get her to notice me?" and starts asking, "Am I becoming a man worthy of my own respect?" That question changes the game, because most men spend years chasing attention, chasing approval, chasing validation, chasing people. And in the process, they unknowingly place themselves in a position of need. They act as though their happiness depends on being chosen, as though their value depends on being wanted, as though their future depends on someone else's decision. But the moment a man begins focusing on himself, something remarkable happens. He stops seeing himself as the pursuer and starts seeing himself as the builder of his character, his health, his purpose, his future, his life. And when that happens, he begins operating from abundance rather than scarcity. He no longer believes that one person determines his worth. He no longer believes that rejection defines him. He no longer believes that attention is the same thing as value. Instead, he understands something many people never learn. Your value is not created by who chooses you. Your value is created by who you choose to become. That realization creates freedom. The freedom to stop chasing, the freedom to stop forcing, the freedom to stop living in constant fear of loss. And when a man reaches that point, people begin noticing him differently, not because he is trying harder, but because he is no longer trying to convince anyone of his worth. His confidence becomes genuine. His actions become intentional. His presence becomes stronger. And his life becomes more attractive because it is built on something real. This is what many people mean when they say, become the prize. Not that you should think you are better than anyone else, not that you should become arrogant, and certainly not that you should treat people poorly. It means understanding your own value, protecting your time, protecting your standards, protecting your purpose, and refusing to abandon those things simply to gain someone's approval. The irony is that when a man finally stops making attraction his primary goal, he often becomes far more attractive. Because he is no longer focused on being chosen, he is focused on becoming. And becoming is always more powerful than chasing. In the end, the woman may notice. She may become curious. She may become more interested than before. But that is not the greatest reward. The greatest reward is that you have built a life that you are proud to live. A life that no longer depends on anyone else's attention to feel meaningful. Because when a man reaches that point, he gains something far more valuable than attraction. He gains self-respect. And self-respect is where true confidence begins. Conclusion. As we come to the end of this video, remember this. The goal was never to make her notice you. The goal was to become a man who no longer needs to be noticed in order to feel valuable. Starting today, ask yourself one question. Am I spending more energy trying to impress others or trying to improve myself? That question alone can change the direction of your life. Because the moment you start investing in your growth, your standards rise, your confidence grows, your self-respect strengthens, and whether people notice or not becomes far less important. Ironically, that is often when they begin noticing. If this video resonated with you, leave a comment below and share the biggest lesson you learned today. And if you want more insights on masculine confidence, self-respect, purpose, emotional strength, and personal growth, make sure to subscribe to Magnetic Masculinity and turn on notifications. Your support helps this channel continue creating meaningful content for men who want to become stronger, wiser, more disciplined, and more confident in every area of life. Thank you for watching. And remember, the moment you stop chasing attention and start building yourself is often the moment the world starts paying attention. Thank you for taking the time to watch until the end of the video. See you in the next videos.